Shalom, everybody, and welcome back to ReligionWinked TV. So, I just did a video, a work vlog, basically telling you guys that I'm a Jew and that I have proof. Well, the deficiency that I have is called G6PD deficiency, and basically, it's found indicative to Northern Africa. And although I have one report on this slideshow I'm about to show you that says, "Welcome to ReligionWinked TV, where my spiritual ears stay," it's been eradicated from the white Jews over in Israel. Other reports say that it was only one person found with it, and that is indicative of Africans, the African Jews, mainly Sephardic, Mizrahi, and Kurdistan, okay? The Mediterranean, I think Turkey and Asia, I'm not really sure, but guys, we'll get into some of it. So what is G6PD deficiency? And why did I have to get it, right? I always like to say, to prove to the world who the real Jews are, right? God will always leave a witness. So, GCPD deficiency. It is an inherited condition. This is something I was born with, y'all. And a lot of you all, 12 tribes of Israel, may have this deficiency as well.
They're made continuously in the bone marrow, looking like flattened donuts without the holes. Red blood cells contain hemoglobin, a bright red protein which gives blood its color. When we breathe, as our blood passes through our lungs, oxygen molecules attach to the hemoglobin. Then the red blood cells and hemoglobin transport the oxygen throughout the body and release it to all our cells and tissues. When the hemoglobin molecules are emptied, they attract carbon dioxide and other waste gases, which they take back to the lungs to be exhaled. Anemia occurs when there are too few red blood cells or not enough hemoglobin. Exhaustion is the common sign of anemia.
It is when the body doesn't have enough of the enzyme called GCPD, glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, right?
About 7.5% of the world population is deficient in this enzyme, but it varies between different groups of individuals. For instance, about 60 to 70% of Kurdish Jews are deficient in glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, and in some parts of Africa, the prevalence is up to about 35%. And it is believed that deficiency in this enzyme may be protective against malaria, and this condition is inherited in an X-linked recessive fashion. Now, individuals with deficiency in glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase may experience hemolytic anemia, and babies that have a deficiency in this enzyme may experience neonatal hyperbilirubinemia or neonatal jaundice.
Now, it sounds like something to do with metabolism, and it probably does. With extensive research, I think I read something that said metabolism along the way. But this enzyme helps red blood cells work correctly. So, in essence, my red blood cells don't work properly if I don't take the proper precautions to avoid certain things. And we'll get into at least 7 things that I have to avoid in order not to be triggered. Now, I know a lot of y'all like to be triggered by certain things in this world, but I actually get triggered in my own personal life with at least 7 things that I should avoid, not to help destroy my red blood cells, right? Or to allow my red blood cells to work correctly. A lack of this enzyme can cause hemolytic anemia, and you guys always wonder why I'm tired, why I look high. I'm telling you, I be going through some days more so than others, but there's really nothing you could do about it. It's incurable. People pass it off as fatigue. drug use, just being lazy and tired. And I'm here to tell y'all, hemolytic anemia ain't nothing to play with, okay? And iron, iron on a tablet, Fe, barely can do anything with it, all right? When you get really triggered. And I just found out about 5 years ago, 6 years now, in 2016, that I even had this. So, you know how many people are walking around undiagnosed? Probably just tired and, just going through. I'm going to tell you some of the symptoms, and don't even realize that they may have this condition. Now, all symptoms, let me just say, all symptoms do not present themselves in every case the same way, right? So this hemolytic anemia, this is when the red blood cells break down faster than they are made. So as you're supposed to be reproducing blood cells, correct ones anyway, normal ones, mine doesn't reproduce this fast. Now, it's not sickle cell. I just heard Spirit mention sickle cell here, because that's abnormal red blood cells trying to go through the veins and arteries. Very painful. This is more like they just break down, dissolve, don't reproduce themselves. So say you're supposed to have a count of 100,000 red blood cells. And as I go throughout the day, stressors, foods, whatever, medications, and don't pay attention, as I'm supposed to be reproducing 100,000, say I'm only reproducing 20 or 5 or none for that matter. So my blood cells are steady breaking down, but they're not being made. They're not being reproduced or restored or replenished the way they should be, all right? And I think that may even have something to do with me talking slow, or I just saw how most people in New York City play 3-card Molly. In the auctions, they be talking fast, and slick people want to talk you out your drawers, your money, and your clothes. I be like, your sanity some dang time. I be like, wait a minute, whoa. Let me slow it down a little bit. So over the years, I've learned how to slow my speech down, okay? So what is G6PD deficiency? G6PD deficiency is inherited. It's genetic. I was born with it. Nobody cursed me with this. The devil didn't do it. This means it is passed down from parents through their genes, and we're going to get into the X-linked gene, okay? The X chromosome. Women who carry one copy of the gene can pass G6PD deficiency to their children. My dad, it has expired, no longer here. My mom, when I tried to run it by her and my family to try to get them tested, well, they don't pay attention to me like most people on social media, and the world is wondering why it's going to hell in a handbasket. Godspeed. Right? So I don't know if my mom have it, my dad have it. All I know is I have it. And what you can do with this is not a generational curse, but any inherited disease or anything that come down from the family bloodline is basically do what you can do to make people aware of it, one, and to live the best life you can with it. Hopefully in hopes of not passing it on to your children. Now, even with my daughter and my children, I told you, one, I cannot find, who I'm going to start looking for real soon. The other one is like talking to somebody with a hole in their dang on head. And my daughter, the youngest one, she have a mind of her own, y'all. But I believe because she is under medical care that she probably will get tested for it. You get tested through your rheumatologist. I do not trust 123 and Ancestry.com. They all work for the Jewish white people over in Israel. So they're not basic, and they're mostly Jewish people. So they're not going to tell you if they find something in your bloodline that leads you back to the children of Israel. Remember, they're trying to keep the children of Israel on the down low, tucked in a closet somewhere, so that the white Jews in Israel can present themselves, as the children of God, right? So, men who get the gene have G6PD deficiency. Women who get the gene are carriers. So, they're saying I'm a carrier, just like some of y'all could carry COVID around and don't know you're carrying it. Well, I'm carrying G6PD deficiency. The only thing is I can't pass this off to you. This is something you have to be born with in order to be the Israelites or to be the chosen people on paper by blood work, not the blood of Jesus. That's a disguise way to get to God. But I mean, a real true connection to God is we were born with a deficiency for the most part. Not all of us, but the majority of us, okay? And again, this is more indicative to the African people over in Africa and not so much white people. But again, just like they wrote themselves in the Bible, white people will write themselves into diseases as well, just to pass themselves off as the people of God. Who is at risk? All right. So G6PD deficiency occurs most often in men. It is rare in women. And I've been telling you, I'm a different kind of woman over here. I just thank God that I can see the signs of the times around me and understand what's going on in me. The disorder affects about 10 to 14 out of 100 African American men in the U.S. It is also common in people from the Mediterranean, Africa, and Asia area. I said Turkey earlier, but Turkey obviously is not Africa, right? But there are some Kurdistan and Mizrahi and some Jews. We when Constantine came on the scene, we dispersed. Hence the diaspora of the Africans were everywhere, right? So basically, the severity of this disorder varies depending on the group. In African Americans, the problem is mild. It mainly affects older red blood cells. You got old red blood cells living up in you, flush them out. I mean, come on now. I don't want to see nobody get on dialysis, but them old red blood cells need to be reproduced. And I would imagine I have old and dead red blood cells in me. I do a good job trying to detoxify my body the best I can with what I'm working with. But I'm sure that I probably have more old blood cells than new, because what is G6PD? It's when your red blood cells break down much faster, abnormal than regular blood cells, right? So in whites, this disorder is often more serious if whites can get it, because there are several reports that say this is not a white person's disease. What are the symptoms of hemolytic anemia? Now, as white people, Israelis, Gentiles, Jews, all mixed together, you're going to find this in some people today, I do believe. But for the most part, this is not a white person's disease. G6PD can cause hemolytic anemia. This is when the red blood cells break down faster than they are made. Symptoms of hemolytic anemia include pale skin, yellowing of the skin, eyes, and mouth, dark colored urine. And when I started noticing my urine becoming a little darker, at first I'm thinking kidneys, what's going on? And all, I ran to the doctor like something ain't right. Let me tell you something. When you drink water, it'll keep your urine clear. But this disease does bring on a darker urine. So you have to drink just as much water as normal to kind of keep your urine from being dark orange or dark in color, okay? I'm a nurse. I'm not afraid to talk about medical issues with you guys over here on this channel. I am not a doctor. I cannot diagnose you, but I know a lot about the medical field and me because I'm a person that has health issues. And if you don't do the research and learn of yourself and what you're going through, the doctors can very well pull the wool over your eyes, pull your legs out from underneath you, and have you going through life not knowing what the hell is wrong with you, right? So, fever, thank God. I've never suffered fevers. Weaknesses, weakness, definitely. Dizziness, definitely. Confusion. And guys, I have to admit here, there's been periods in my life where it became cloudy, confusion. And I always say confusion is of the devil. So I'm praying extra hard and like, God, where is this coming from? But it's part of the disease. It is something I went through. I thought I was going through freaking Alzheimer's at one point, but again, and you know, most people, when you deal with confusion in the medical field, most people will say, oh, it's depression, it's mental health. And again, it's confusion, not of the devil. I always say chaos, contention, and confusion is of the devil. God is not the author of confusion. So I didn't know where this was coming from. I didn't know how to really deal with it at first. Trouble with physical activity. And if you've been following me, I don't have a problem telling you since the pandemic happened and we all got to sit home and reflect. Well, I realized that there was some medical issues going on that I started taking care of July 2020. And by the grace of God, here we are today doing this video, right? Enlarged spleen and liver, I don't have any problems with that. But again, the liver is where the blood resides and where it gets detoxified. I believe the spleen does a little bit as well. So thank God my liver, I'm not a drinker and I didn't bring any disease to my liver because I need every little ounce of it I have left to try to keep my blood clean, especially the ones, my red blood cells that are being reproduced, right? Increased heart rate, I don't really deal with. Every now and then, I told you guys, when I go live on YouTube specifically, no other platform, but there's that little bit of anxiety because I always know the devil is on the other side of the camera looking back at me, right? I'm only joking, y'all. In the beginning, it was like that, but we've gotten better, right? But as far as just having increased heart rate, my heart rate is pretty good. Heart murmur, I do not have. But if your child is being born with a heart murmur, I would have the rheumatologist or doctor blood work, period. It could be done where they draw blood, any laboratory. You just have to have your doctor order a CBC, complete blood count. And you have to mention, I would like to rule out G6PD deficiency. So when the rheumatologist came into the office and said to me, you want the good news or the bad news? I'm like, there's good news, hell. Because you know, when you're in the doctor's office, you hope that you're all right. But you're in the doctor's office because there's some things going on, right? So I was like, good news, hell, bring it on. Oh God. And he said it just like this. The good news is you have G6PD deficiency. The bad news is you got to stay away from fava beans. And at that point in time, I had never heard, y'all, of what the hell fava beans was. And as much as I love pistachio, anybody know I love salted nuts. Pistachios is my favorite. The green ones, to be specific. Walnuts, cashews. I'm just a nut lagoon kind of girl, right? But as time went on and I started realizing that mostly everything they were telling me to stay away from, I pretty much been on for the most part of my life. Red wine, blueberries, mothballs. Well, no, I never ingested mothballs, but living around fields and where I live, I would put the mothballs outside the house and inside the house, okay? Because they help control field mice and just insects and bugs and things of that nature. And they keep the moths off your clothes, I guess, when they're hanging in the closet, right? So I remember that day so vivid. Your healthcare provider can diagnose G6PD deficiency with a single blood test. You may need this test if your family comes from an area where this condition is common. And we all know who came over from Africa here in America. So I would suggest that you all go get tested. Hello. God sent me to your life and here for a reason. And it's not to get anything from you, it's to offer you the good news. You have a family history of G6PD. Like, I tried to reach out and tell my family, go get tested. You have an unknown form of anemia. Anybody that has a severe, extreme case of anemia and you're on iron and it still doesn't seem to work at some point in time, you may need to get tested, okay? So how do you treat it? So I remember saying to my doctor, like, what you mean red wines, blueberries? I always remember Miss Ethel, God rest her soul. Miss Ethel would always make us blueberry pancakes growing up on the weekend. And I can remember that day clearly. Blueberries, I just like to put in my smoothies when I make them. And I still dibble and dabble with a little blueberries. I get the frozen ones and I'll take a handful and, mix with some strawberries or whatever. But y'all, I'm trying to cut it out, okay? I am trying. But like I said, I think the blueberries, I think the red wine, I think the nuts, and I think the mothball's been keeping me alive. What do you guys think? All right, so how is it treated? In most cases, G6PD deficiency doesn't cause problems, and it really doesn't for most people. But again, when you couple it with what I was already diagnosed with in 2016, I found this out in 2016. It was like, and the other issues I have are all pretty much autoimmune. And no, no, no. This isn't something I caught from a sexually transmitted disease or sharing needles or blood transfusions. G6PD deficiency is an autoimmune disease. It's inherited. Alright? So, problems may occur if you're exposed to certain medicines that basically end in QUINE, but I stay away from all medicines or foods that may harm your blood cells. So there's 7 things I'm going to share with you guys, and then I'm going to go ahead and tell you what those 7 things are in a moment. But again, whenever they go to offer you medicine with this condition, please cross-reference. If you were referred out to a specialist and they want to give you medicine like a dermatologist or a rheumatologist, cross-reference with your primary doctor. They'll look it up. They'll see if you can have it if you have a good enough doctor like I do and been with my doctor since 1998. They'll do these extra little things for you to make sure you're not taking the wrong medicine or putting your blood cells in jeopardy, right? Depending on your gene flaw, you may be able to handle a small amount of these exposures. A small amount. Like I said, with the blueberries, very, very small amount, right? Treatment will depend on your symptoms, your age, and your general health. It will also depend on how severe the condition is. And I thank God for his healing because mine could be a lot worse. I don't like to claim healing, but I have to accept the fact that I have this. And I'm proud that I have this because it proves in my spiritual walk who I am as a person. Because they like to hide everything of God, but you can't hide me. You can't hide my truth. And you can't hide the fact that G6PD deficiency is basically in people from Africa, the northernmost part of Africa. So, living with G6PD deficiency, if you have this condition, you will need to stay away from things that can trigger hemolytic anemia. This includes aspirins and products that have aspirins, certain antibiotics, fava beans, mothballs, and here they leave out red wine and blueberries. But again, once you go digging for and doing your research, a lot more stuff comes up, right? So some of the key points about G6PD deficiency is the lack of G6PD enzyme in the blood. It is a genetic health problem that is most often inherited by men. Women don't often get it, but I told you I'm always the exception to the rule. I'm always unique and different, y'all, for some reason. But they can be carriers and pass it to their children. It can cause hemolytic anemia. This is when the red blood cells break down faster than the body can make them. Can you imagine? It is what it is, people. So you never know why anybody try to protect their peace and their energy and just don't get into beefs or accept beefs or set traps for people, because I don't want none set for me. I know what I'm dealing with, and if I knew what you were dealing with, I probably wouldn't put you in such a health risk either, neither. So it affects about 10 to 14 out of 100 African American men in the U.S. It is also common in people from the Mediterranean area, Africa, and or Asia. Treatment includes staying away from certain medicines, foods, and environmental exposures, which most people don't know. Oxidation in the body has a lot to do with it, okay? So let's journey on. Again, basically, now we're going to get into the X link. And I'm not going to read all these articles, but you guys can go through them yourself. But under description, G6PD is an X linked recessive hereditary disease which involves a lack of an enzyme found in red blood cells. G6PD deficiency causes the destruction of red blood cells as a result of exposure to infections or stresses, certain drugs like sulfa antibiotics, painkillers. And that's why people say, how you go through life without any pain medication? Because prior to 2016, I would take the Aleve. I would take most things over the counter. I'm not a prescription kind of girl. Never wanted to get addicted to them, never wanted to abuse them, never want to take them, because I truly believe that I am healed by his stripes. And the select anti-malarial agents in certain foods, namely fava beans. It is the most common human enzyme deficiency known. And remember when the ex-president was talking about giving out the malaria drug? Or I wouldn't have been able to take it. I like I said, I'm always falling between the cracks for some reason, but I wouldn't have took it anyway. But this G6PD deficiency, they always ask me, have you been out the country and have you ever had malaria? And the answer is no to both questions. So it is the most common human enzyme deficiency known to mankind, I'm adding, right? Symptoms. Exposures to the triggers of this disorder causes destructions of the red blood cells, but may still be asymptomatic. However, with a comma, some individuals will exhibit symptoms of hemolytic crisis, destruction of red blood cells. And when I tell you I'm tired and I have to take a nap, I'm not making no excuses, but this is probably why. So most people experience pallor, which is the yellowing of the skin, fatigue, which I deal with a lot, tachycardia, which is a quick heartbeat, yellow skin, that's the jaundice, shortness of breath, which I thank God I get a little winded, but I gained weight during COVID, and then I took some off. I've lost 10 pounds since my last doctor's appointment. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But shortness of breath, I thank God that is not like real bad. And dark color urine, I told you drinking water and just staying on top of that will help your urine look normal, okay? So I'm not going to get into the incident and the carriers. We went over treatment. There's testing available, resources, and more. Fiveism, whatever this fava bean thing is, there's some resources here you guys can look at. And remember, this is coming from the JGD, Jewish Genetic Diseases, okay? So if they're doing research on this, they are going to make it look like everybody of other races can get it as well, just so I'm not singled out as having it and being a black Jew, right? A real black Jew. So we're going to get into some of these other slides. Now, I just wanted to put this in here. G6PD Mediterranean accounts for the high prevalence of, and you can see it says the Jews of Kurdistan. And you see it crossed out. It says Sephardic up here in the top one, right? Missing Sephardic Mizrahi. When I first learned of this about 6 years ago and I went to do research, and the research came up with all three Jewish descriptions: Kurdistan, Sephardic, Mizrahi. Now, Sephardic Jews are known to be those swarthy looking black people that was living over in Portugal, Spain, prior to the 1500 Spanish acquisition, okay? There's some truth to the children of Israel being who we are, all right? Now, Benayah Israel over here on YouTube. I'm going to link him down below on this video so you guys can go watch his content. So yeah, Sephardi Jews need genetic testing too. All about genetic testing. See, genetic. This is something you can't make up. I can't buy this. I can't go out and tell somebody to do a BBL on my genetics. I just can't do that, y'all. Overview of Sephardi disorders. Just a bunch of medical terms, essential collaborators, Sephardi Jews. Again, if you want to know about the Sephardi, Mizrahi, and the Kurdistan Jews, there's information out here, okay? Now, here we are on Wikipedia, all right? And basically, you guys can read through this all you want. It's going to get more into the X-linked recessive disorder that results in defective glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme. Red blood cell breakdown may be triggered by infections, certain medications, stress, or foods such as fava beans, depending on the specific mutation, y'all. I'm not talking Ninja Turtles here, okay? The severity of the condition may vary. Diagnosis is based on symptoms and supported by blood tests and genetic testing. That's why we got to get more doctors on this level of genetic testing so you guys can, be like, hey, let me test some white people and see if they got this disease. Because we're going to get into a report that says it's been eradicated out of the white people, but how come it hasn't been eradicated out of the black people? Either it never really existed in the white people, or they're selfish as hell to get the white people the help and medical treatment they need, and not us black people, right?
So is a witness.
So either way you look at it, they're full of it. So, treatment of acute episodes may include medications for infection, stopping the offending medication or blood transfusion, Jaundice in newborns may be treated with bilites. I mean, it is recommended that people be tested for G6PD deficiency before certain medications such as Primaquine, there's that Quine, are taken, right? So when I started being my own advocate for this disease, they want to prescribe me meds. No, what is it? Well, does it have the IN, the QUINE in it? Hell, at this point in time, like I said 6 years ago, I don't want nothing to do with none of y'all medication. Just leave me alone with it. But here's the kicker, y'all. I don't know if you guys eat falafel. Like when you go to the corner stores and Habib's be cooking in there. Affected persons must avoid dietary triggers, notably fava beans. I never knew what a fava bean was until 6 years ago. And guess what, y'all? I'm still not sure what the hell a fava bean. I never heard of it before in my life, but apparently this can be difficult as fava beans may be called broad beans and are used in many foods, whole or as flour. Falafel, FALAFEL. About 6 months ago, I had me some falafel. I had me some rice, some lamb. I don't know what it was. I was just like, let me try that right there. Is probably, and that's probably the weekend I went home on July 4th of July was on July 5th, right? That Friday night, I ate this food. And I woke up and it was like something hit me in my forehead. My eye was swollen. I had to go to the emergency room on 4th of July. That's a story time for you. But I remember that weekend. This is probably, or did I eat a cheeseburger that? No, I had cheeseburger and fries. But somewhere prior to September of 2021, I had falafel. And it's probably the best known, but fava beans are also often used as filler in meatballs and other foods. So we gotta read. I mean, I'm just gonna go outside and eat some damn grass from now on. That's what the cows do, right? They seem to be okay, right? Lord have mercy. I know dogs eat grass, but that don't necessarily mean they're okay. When they have stomach upsets and stomach issues, that's when dogs go outside and eat grass. So I don't know what I'm gonna eat, y'all. All I know is since G6PD deficiency is not an allergy, food regulation is in most countries do not require that fava beans be highlighted as an allergen on the label. Okay, so you guys read through this. You got symptoms, cause, triggers, drugs, genetics, pathophysiology, diagnosis, classification, differential diagnosis, treatment, prognosis, epidemiology, history, society and culture, references, external links. You guys can go through this, okay? Most individuals with G6PD deficiency are asymptomatic, thank God. Most people who develop symptoms are male due to the X-linked pattern of inheritance, but female carriers can be affected due to unfavorable ionization or skewed X inactivation, where random inactivation of an X chromosome in certain cells create a population of G6PD deficient red blood cells coexisting with unaffected red blood cells. A female with one affected X chromosome will show the deficiency in approximately half of their red blood cells. However, in some cases, including double X deficiency, the ratio can be much more than half, making the individual almost as sensitive as males. And I think this is where I fall in this category here. One last thing from Wikipedia: red blood cell breakdown, also known as hemolysis, the breakdown of the blood, and G6PD deficiency can manifest in a number of ways, including the following. Let's look at this. prolonged neonatal jaundice, possibly leading to chemicteris, arguably the most serious complication of G6PD. Hemolytic crisis in response to illness, especially infections, certain drugs, see below, certain foods, most notably broad beans, from which the word favism derives, certain chemicals, and diabetic ketoacidosis. Hemoglobinuria, red or brown urine, very severe crisis can cause acute kidney failure. Favism, all right, is a hemolytic response to the consumption of fava beans, also known as broad beans. Though all individuals with favism show G6PD deficiency, not all individuals with G6PD deficiency show favism. The condition is known to be more prevalent in infants and children, and G6PD genetic variant can influence chemical sensitivity. Other than this, the specifics of the chemical relationship between favism and G6PD are not well understood. You have your triggers. They finally mention mothballs here. They finally mention aspirin, quinine, and other anti-malarials, malaria drugs. It gets into the drugs here where I'm not going to go too deep into that because, like I said, I limit myself to medication, period. The genetics you guys can see here. If you understand this table, I am not going to break it down for you, but here are the designations. You have the short names. Under mutation, under the genes, you have type, subtype, position. Under protein, you have structure and function change. Structure change and function change. So I'm not going to get into all of that. So I just wanted you guys to know that this is real. There are different classifications of it as well. And with that being said, let's move on, y'all. I don't want to keep you too long. So I basically just want to say here in this article, the most severe form of the disorder is called favism, after the legume, the legume, okay? And basically, this is what I want you guys to get from this. Glycogen storage disease type 3, glycogen storage disease type 3, GSD. 3 is caused by an enzyme deficiency that prevents liver and or muscle tissue from completely breaking down stored glycogen into glycose, which the body metabolizes. See, this is where I told you metabolism comes in at. Most people think it has to do with digestion and how you metabolize your food, but there's enzymes within the body that deals with metabolizing and metabolism on its own. So glycogen is a carbohydrate that serves as one of the primary fuel reserves for the body's energy needs. Store of glycogen power the body during times of fasting and exercising. And we all know about the mitochondrial DNA. That's like the powerhouse of all. But again, North African descent, about 1 in 5,400 North African Jews has this disease. It says Jews. Now, again, if you're black and you came over here from Africa, it's by chance you may have this. Please go get tested, y'all. It's simple, all right? So that's basically it with this article here. The effect that affects the Sephardic Jews. Routine screening for Sephardic and Mizrahi Jews include carrier screening for cystic fibrosis and spinal muscular atrophy, as well as for hemoglobinopathies such as beta thalassemia, I never back down from a word. Thalassemia. The following list includes a selection of some conditions that are more common in different Sephardic and Mizrahi populations. More specialized screening will be dependent on the individual's country of origin and the availability of testing. Again, it gets into the G6PD. It's the most common known human enzyme deficiency affecting 400 million people worldwide, most frequently in areas with a high incidence of malaria, such as Africa, the Mediterranean, and Southeast Asia. And if you don't think I've been telling you, the minor Asia pretty much is some of the 12 tribes of Israel, I don't know who we are then, people. About 65% of male Kurdish Jews have the disease. Carriers are thought to have some resistance to malaria because the genetic mutation are sex linked. Most cases occur in males. Female who carry mutations are generally not affected because the normal copy of the gene on their second X chromosome compensates for the defect. Affected males can pass the mutation to a daughter, but it is unlikely that she would have symptoms for this reason. So if my dad gave it to me or my mom gave it to me, I'm telling you, in 2016, I felt the difference in my body. I was at work one July morning around 8 a.m. in 2016, and I called my boss because we were outside. We were having like this fire drill. There was some kind of smoke going on in the building. See, God will make a way. And we're standing there, and I remember getting a little dizzy and lightheaded. I said, I don't feel right. I'm going to the hospital. I called my boss from the parking lot, got back in my car because the whole building was like outside. I got in my car, I went to the emergency room, and here we are today. Moving on to the next slide. So again, I just wanted to put this here. G6PD deficiency occurs most often in men. It is rare in women. I'm one of the rare women in the world, right? The disorder affects about 10 to 14 out of 100 African American men in the U.S. It is also common to people in the form from the Mediterranean area, Africa, and Asia. I'm going to keep emphasizing this, guys. All right. The severity of the disorder, it varies depending on the group. Now, I got it here because it says an Ashkenazi Jew woman, they are the ones living in Israel today, presenting with Favism. Not necessarily G6PD. Remember, we just read that one isn't the other. One is they you can't. I don't know what we just read. Go back and listen to it a couple slides back. But it says a woman was presented with it. Okay. Now we're gonna get into some slides where it say people was eradicated from it. All right. This is probably just the page where I was just pulling up stuff, looking for research. Let's go. I'm gonna show you where it's going to say that it was eradicated out of some people. Now, I don't know. Oh, okay. I don't know why I know why I have this abstract here. There is some emergent evidence that the genetic burden or survival value associated with G6PD deficiency may be relevant not only in tropical and infectious diseases, but also in their chemotherapy, i.e., malaria, as well as the control of a long recognized environmental pollutants such as lead. And I'm going to go on here and say environmental pollutants could be COVID, could be a pandemic, could be a flu, can be all kinds of things. Y'all read through this, please. It tells you about the variants. It tells you about the X chromosome. It tells you about the 62% among Kurdish Jews. to have a very low rate read this, but I do know that the last sentence down here caught my attention when it talked about chemotherapy and malaria, and not to be worried about anything, but I told you guys in my last video I took a mammogram on March 9th. So when I got home from my mammogram doing research for this and I saw chemotherapy, we immediately started praying, okay, and confessing that we are healed by his stripes, right? So moving right along, you all, we don't have too many slides to get through. Let's go ahead and click on this one. I'm going to show you where it says it was eradicated, okay, in the white people, all right? So again, this is just, I don't know why this is here, just to give you some more stuff. I don't want to, keep repeating myself, but you guys can look at this. It may be the same exact. It may be the same exact slide as we already went through, but there is a slide here, and I am going to get to it, you all. Now, again, it's just telling you basically what it is, mentioning hemolytic anemia. All right, so let's get this out the way. In people with G6PD deficiency, hemolytic anemia can occur after eating fava beans or certain legumes. See, I was born with this. It was genetic. I didn't have to eat a fava bean. I didn't start eating peanuts until after I was born, and legumes and nuts. So it may also be triggered by infections or certain drugs. Again, I am going to find it, y'all, because this may not be it. No, I saw the word lemonade right here. I was like, what about lemonade? Because that's one of my favorite drinks. I had to pause for a minute, y'all, okay? So this obviously is not the article, because it was right. I glanced at it. I said, oh, wait, it was eradicated. All right, here we go. The Sephardi Jews need genetic testing, okay? Let's go ahead and get this out the way. So basically, for the Jewish community, depending on which one you're talking about, perhaps the biggest success story in genetic testing is Tay-Sachs. The disease is carried by 1 in 27 Ashkenazi Jews who come from Eastern Europe. Nothing about Africa, right? And nearly always have been fatal. Today, among Ashkenazi Jewish populations, it has been almost entirely eradicated. Whatever that is. See, they're talking about Tay-Sachs. Let's look up what Tay-Sachs is. Hold on one second, y'all. Because when I read, I thought they were talking about G6PD. Alright, so overview. Tay-Sachs disease is a rare genetic disorder passed from parents to child. It is caused by the absence of an enzyme that helps break down fatty substance. So look, that has nothing to do with the red blood cells, okay, y'all? So let me get back over here where we were. So basically, when I said it was eradicated, I almost thought that this was talking about G6PD, because they would try to tell you that it's in white people, but there's only one case of a white woman, a Jewish Ashkenazi woman that is, living in Israel today, having this case, and I showed you guys that. But they're always trying, this has to do with fatty substances. G6PD has to do with the red blood cells. Alright? And the devil been trying to destroy the bloodline of God for the longest, okay? But we're not going to get into that. So Tay-Sachs deals with fatty substances. This is the report I was talking to you guys about that was kind of eradicated. But it does go on to mention in G6PD deficiency, which can cause anemia, is carried by 1 in 2 Kurdish Jews and 1 in 4 Iraqi Jews. So everybody wants to be a Jew. Everybody could be a Jew. Most people, other than the European Jews, know they are Jews, but have to play it down and lay it down and put it on the back burner just to appease the Jews of the world today. But this article just basically goes on and talk about the Ashkenazis, who again have a different blood type and line as us. So I don't want to confuse you with the two diseases. This is Tay-Sachs that they say they eradicated. And if they can eradicate diseases out of the Ashkenazi Jews, how come they can't eradicate diseases out of everybody, right? So basically, it just goes on and on. Hell. Wait. A fat storage disorder. It is carried by about 1 in 27 Iranian Jews. Other diseases are even more common. Okay, so you know what? They mention Armenia here, like the Kardashians. They mention Iraqi, Turkish. But I bet you there's only a few far and wide and in between that got G6PD. Okay? I'm trying to teach y'all something. Like right here where it says eradicated, it says among Ashkenazi Jewish populations, it has been almost entirely eradicated. So why don't they go through the North African, Iraqi, Armenian, Turkish? Go through their populations as well. The Sephardi, the Mizrahi Jews. Why don't they go through and eradicate these diseases? This is why I have a problem with the alleged people of God over in Israel, because they want to eradicate everything out of their population, but it seems like what they eradicate out of them somehow spill over into your communities. Now let's go on. We are almost done. And I think that's it, guys. And with that being said, shalom, everybody. God bless you. Let me know what you think about the whole G6PD deficiency. Let me know what you think about this old Tay-Sachs disease that the Ashkenazi Jews deal with. Let me know if I presented enough information for you in this video to prove that I am a Jew, as I said in my last video, where I said I can't save your children, doing this. But what I can do is just tell my truth and share it with you and hopefully encourage you guys to go out and seek your truth, which is being God's people, the most talked about people in the world. And with that being said, you all, let me get back over here where we were in Sinai. We was in Sinai Cedar Sinai, getting our information for the most part. And I will link all of the slides in the tabs I have open, all the links that I've talked about in this video. I will link them all down below, and I'll link that video I did earlier to this so you'll have a reference or know why I made this video, because I do mention that I'm a Jew in that video, and I kind of just carried it over to here. So again, let me know what you think about G6PD deficiency, which is an inherited condition. It is when the body doesn't have enough of an enzyme called G6PD glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase to help stabilize the red blood cells so they work correctly. A lack of this enzyme can cause hemolytic anemia. This is when the red blood cells break down faster than when they are made. Again, as far as death, I know it's very, very, very rare, but there have been some cases. And with that being said, let me know what you think about what are the risks, what are the symptoms of hemolytic anemia, the deficiency diagnosed, deficiency being treated, living with the deficiency, if you or any of your family members have been diagnosed with this. Guys, let me know down below. I don't know everything, but what I do know, we're very rare over here, very unique, very peculiar and different, and have a lot to offer the world if I can just get you to simply listen. So with that being said, subscribe to my channel, like, share, comment, do all that good stuff for the algorithm of YouTube and for your own personal preference. Hell, who else should you be talking to in these last days besides God? And with that being said, peace, everybody.